We're now shifting our focus to the other big story that we're tracking. The Enforcement Directorate is carrying out searches at the Herald House and multiple locations in the alleged National Herald money laundering case. According to sources, raids are going on at about 10 to 12 locations. Remember, in this case, Congress Chief Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi were questioned in the National Herald case, which had triggered huge protests in several parts of the country by the Congress workers. The Congress party alleged that the central government is misusing central agencies. So once again, we're seeing the Gandhis under the focus. Days after the Enforcement Directorate grilled both Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi, the National Herald headquarters has been raided. Remember, in the backdrop of this case, we've seen Congress workers take to the streets and resort to pan-India protests. But first, let's understand what really is happening today. My colleague Akash is now joining us live on the broadcast from outside the Herald headquarters or the Herald House. Akash, what really is happening around you? What are these raids that we are seeing? Any activity that you can bring details to us about?
All right, so Ridhima, first of all, let me show you the building. This is the particular building, Herald House, and we are learning that at around 6:30 or 7 in the morning, these officers came to this particular building. And, in fact, we're learning that several officers have left this particular premises with some documents. But as of now, 6 officers are still there inside the building, and they are sitting at the accounts department searching for some specific documents as of now. Also, this is not the only place where the search is being carried out. At around 10 to 11 places, these searches are being carried out throughout the country. And as of now, this case is very much related to the National Herald AJL case. And at this point in time, it is, something that is getting all our attentions because, just a few days back, we learned how, in fact, first Rahul Gandhi and then Sonia Gandhi was questioned in the very same case. And now ED officers are very much there at the National Herald offices and AJL offices to conduct some sort of raids, some sort of searches, and also they are looking for some specific documents, Ridhima.
So Akash, you said it's not just the Herald headquarters or the Herald House, but other locations, as many as 10 other locations, I believe, are also being raided. Which are these other locations which are under the scanner as well?
So these are all the commercial buildings that are somewhere related to the AJL company. We don't know the specifics as of now, but these locations are in Kolkata and in Delhi as well. Ridhima, this particular building is very much important. Let me mention it again because, on ground floor and first floor, we have passport office. On the second floor, we have Qaumi Awaz office. And on the third floor, we have National Herald office. As of now, the information that we are getting is that, some officers have left the particular premises with some sort of documents in their hands. Also, 6 of the officers are still sitting at the accounts department. Again, if I can show you the 4th floor, there you see this is the National Herald office where ED officers are still sitting, carrying out these searches, and specifically, if sources are to be believed, then they are sitting at the accounts department as of now, and they are looking for some sort of documents as of now, Ridhima.
Okay. Akash, I'll request you to stay on with us. Our colleague Ashish Mehrishi tracks developments of the Enforcement Directorate, also now joining us on the broadcast. So Ashish, taking on from what Akash was pointing out, it's not just the Herald House which is under the scanner, but 10 other locations as well. There are about 6 officers who are still present at the Herald House. Any more details that you're picking up by the means of sources within the ED?
So what I've been told is these are basically companies. If you can please ask the producer, my voice is bouncing back.
We'll just try and fix that, Ashish, but please go ahead.
Yeah, so what I have been told by my sources in the Enforcement Directorate is that searches are happening on certain companies, basically who basically helped in funding of purchase of shares at the time when the Young Indian was taking over of Associated Journal. So if you see, there have been purchase of shares just before when the Associated Journal was being taken over by Young Indian, and money for that purchase of shares came from certain companies. So these companies are being raided as of now on what was the modus operandi, how money came into those accounts for purchase of shares. Certain individuals got rights to vote. Now, interestingly, if you remember, in the month of September 2010, 7 individuals, only 7 individuals out of 1,500 people, they decided to hand over Associated Journal, which is a 1938 company, even before our independence, 1,500 shareholders, but ultimately only 7 people in an AGM in Lucknow, they decide the fate of 1,500 people and hand over the entire equity of Associated Journal into the hands of young Indians, where Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi are holding 38% each, and people like Motilal Vora and Oscar Fernandez, who were equity holders, they basically are no longer alive. So, all people in the matter have been questioned, which includes Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, people who are new office bearers like Pawan Bansal, Mallikarjuna Kharge, all have been questioned till now. But to my understanding, and my sources also reveal, that they are basically raiding certain companies through which money came into purchase of shares just before the takeover of the Associated Journal. So certain people who bought equity, who got voting rights, those areas is the area where the Enforcement Directorate is basically investigating. As of now, around 9 companies are, 9 locations are being raided, which include certain companies. The Enforcement Directorate is absolutely tight-lipped about those companies. Which companies are these? Because it's a matter of investigation. They're not revealing other locations apart from the Herald House. So let's see during the day, once the searches are over, maybe we can have some more details. But as of now, to my understanding, these are companies which were basically, which helped in financing of purchase of shares. So let's see how things move during the day. 10 to 12 locations are being raided as of now. One thing we can confirm is that houses of Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi have not been covered in this search. That is for sure. Residential premises of people associated with the Associated Journal have not been covered. Especially Young Indian has not been covered in the searches. So it seems they are looking forward for documents which relate to purchase of shares, and that is why they have hit on the Herald House and companies from where the money has come into purchase of shares.
Ashish, I'll request you to stay on with us. I'll request Akash also to stay on with us. We're getting some details now coming in. This, in fact, is the first reaction of the Congress. Jairam Ramesh has now tweeted, and I'd like to quote what he said in that tweet. The raids on the Herald House, Bahadur Shah Zafar Marg, are a part of the continued attack against India's principal opposition. The Congress, we strongly condemn this vendetta politics against those who speak up against the Modi government. You cannot silence us, end quote. Pallavi Ghosh, our senior editor, now joining us on the broadcast. Pallavi, this is a repetition of what we've seen being said by the Congress before, that all these are practices to try and silence voice of dissent. 2 things that I want to understand. Give us more details of what the Congress is saying at this point. And 2, how do you see this playing out in the backdrop of the Parliament session as well?
We've been saying this, that the Congress Party's official reaction is going to be pretty much what it has always been. That, this is a case of political vendetta. There's absolutely no case against the Gandhis. There was a closure, but it has been deliberately raked up because the Gandhis are the ones who most aggressively question. There are notices which are already pending, and Mallikarjuna Kharge made the point yesterday in Rajya Sabha that there are notices where we want a full-fledged discussion on the misuse of ED and CBI, but the government is not even allowing it. I think the Congress Party certainly would want to remind the government once again that this notice must be taken notice of. There should be a discussion on this, and I wouldn't be surprised. This is a strategy which is being worked out, that there will be protests both inside